Good morning, Western Washington, and happy Wednesday. I'm Matthew Fab with Western Washington Weather, and today we've got a lot to talk about. We've got cold, we've got wind, we have snow, and we have active weather coming in next week. So we're going to take a look at all of that starting now. So you can see on the satellite imagery, almost no clouds across the entirety of Western Washington, a few clouds up on parts of the Olympic Peninsula, and some fog across parts of Eastern Washington, otherwise completely clear and very cold. So taking a look at our low temperatures this morning, you can see in downtown Seattle in the mid-20s. North and south of the city, though, and east and west of the city as well, you cool off pretty dramatically. You can see even North Seattle down in the low 20s. 19 at SeaTac Airport, 19 here in Federal Way, 15 there at JBLM, down to 12 at Olympia Airport, which is in an outlying area. They're very open, 14 in Shelton. The Cascade Foothills there in North Bend, Enumclaw between 15 and 20, and we go up north toward Mount Vernon, Bellingham. You can see mid-teens to low 20s there, and then across Whatcom County there in the mid-teens. Take a look at the coast. It got pretty cold out there as well, with lows down to see La Push there at 22, 24 near Point Grenville, and then 25 there, 25 to 30 in Ocean Shores. Pretty cold for the coast. Go over to Eastern Washington, and man, it has just been really cold over there. You can see 3 in Ellensburg, 3 in Kennewick, 3 at Pasco Airport, minus 11 there near Lewiston and Clarkston, and minus 4 at Spokane International. And then finally, going down here toward Portland, you can see 25 there at PDX and down to 18 around Longview and Chehalis. So very cold across the region. You want to see some real cold, go out to parts of Eastern Oregon there. Take a look at Burns, Oregon, negative 27 degrees. And for those of you over in Idaho there, 5 degrees there in Boise and 0 just north of Caldwell. So very cold across most of the Pacific Northwest this morning, and also very dry. Take a look at dew points across Western Washington. You have dew points in the teens across parts of Whatcom County, and in the teens to low 20s across most of Western Washington. Eastern Washington, dew points of 0 to minus 20 degrees. You can see there at SeaTac Airport, dew point showing up at 16 degrees this morning. So taking a look at those dew points at the forecast there, we're running a little bit above the European model's forecast, but you can see as we go through today, those dew points just stay extremely low in the single digits to around 15 degrees for all of Western Washington. Before we do start to, you can see we get a area of lower dew points right in the Central Sound there Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Take a look at Thursday morning there. You get those dew points around 7 degrees at SeaTac Airport as we have offshore flow and some easterly gap winds, which we'll take a look at in a moment. But you can see as we go through Thursday afternoon, the dew points start to increase, and that is because precipitation is going to be moving into the area. And how much these dew points increase toward to a level where snow can fall is what is going to determine what areas get snow and where they don't. And we're going to take a look at that more later in the video. You can see as we go into Friday morning, those dew points get up to right about 27 to 30 degrees, which is about what you need for snow. But the problem is if we have any offshore winds going, those areas are going to get their snow scoured out pretty quickly. So you can see as we go through Friday there, those dew points get to about freezing just above as precipitation moves through the area. So taking a look here at the wind forecast, you can see this is peak winds through Friday morning, and see this area of easterly gap winds really from North Bend south toward Enumclaw there. This looks like the strongest winds with gusts up towards 60 miles per hour are going to stay over the foothills. We're not going to have anything like the bomb cyclone or anything like that. This will not be anything abnormal for the areas that are used to these winds. I'd say places like North Bend and Enumclaw could gust up toward 45 to 50 miles per hour, but very briefly, peaking on Thursday morning, and there's going to be some very cold wind chills out there, probably feeling like 0 degrees or below if you are in some of these strong winds, especially along I-90 there up towards Snoqualmie Pass, where gusts could reach 45 miles per hour. Across the lowlands, you can see basically areas from Tacoma northward to Everett could gust up to 20 miles an hour Thursday morning, which could bring those wind chills down into the single digits again. And on the coast, where those offshore winds are blowing pretty good out through Grays Harbor, the Columbia River, in those areas, gusts could reach 35 to 40 miles per hour, bringing some cold wind chills on Thursday as well out there. Now taking a look at high temperatures, you can see we're going to warm up a bit today from yesterday. Highs are going to reach the low 40s for most of Western Washington here on Wednesday, except up near Whatcom County and San Juan Islands there where highs reach the upper 30s. You can see with that system moving in on Thursday, we cool down a little bit with highs in the mid to upper 30s across most of Western Washington. Coldest from Seattle southward there with those highs only in the mid 30s. And that will go to support more snow potential for areas from Seattle south. Friday, you can see we go back up to the low to mid 40s. Same thing on Saturday, and Sunday we increase further to the mid to upper 40s as the system moves into the area. Same thing Monday and Tuesday. By Tuesday, we're starting to reach the low 50s for the first time in quite a while for parts of western Washington, and that's a trend that will continue into next week. Taking a look at minimum temperatures, Thursday morning, we're going to be pretty cold again. Areas around Seattle in the mid-20s, Seattle northward in the upper teens to low 20s, Seattle southward in the upper teens to low 20s yet again, but this will be the last really cold morning. You can see as we go into Friday morning there, those lows increase to the mid-20s to low 30s across most of western Washington, some outlying areas in the mid-20s still. And then as we go into Saturday morning, those lows finally start to tick above freezing. Most of western Washington right at freezing Saturday morning or just above, up toward 35 degrees or so. And by Sunday morning, the whole area above freezing for those overnight lows in the mid-30s to low 40s. And that's a trend that will continue into next week. Now taking a look at this apparent temperature, this is that wind chill starting right now, 7 a.m. Wednesday. You can see wind chills of the single digits in parts of Whatcom County, lots of eastern Washington below zero, and then parts of King County, there near the Cascades, you can see Snoqualmie Pass, negative 10 degree wind chill right now, mid-20s or mid-teens to low 20s across most of western Washington for those wind chills. You can see even as we go through today, it still feels pretty cold for most of the area. Those wind chills still in the mid-30s for most of western Washington through this afternoon. As we go through tonight, those east winds start to pick up, and those wind chills will stay pretty cold for parts of western Washington. As we go into Thursday morning, there you can see wind chills in the upper teens to low 20s for most of western Washington. Some foothill areas in the mid-teens, maybe all the way down into the single digits. Same thing around Bellingham with some of that Fraser outflow. That continues through the day. Thursday there you can see that strong easterly wind out of the Columbia River Gorge near Portland, keeping the wind chills for Vancouver, Washington, Portland, Oregon. They're around the single digits to the mid-teens. And you can see those easterly winds still there, bringing those wind chills down below freezing for areas from Seattle to Tacoma and then southward through Olympia, where you have some of that offshore flow as well. And then it still feels pretty cold overnight Friday, but not nearly as cold as the last few days here. So now this is kind of what we want to talk about here, is this system coming in and how far north does it spread snow. There's a little bit of a complicated thing going on here. So you can see the system moves onshore over southern Oregon and starts to push a band of snow, maybe some freezing rain for parts of Oregon. It pushes that northward as we go into Thursday morning. As we go into Thursday afternoon, you can see how that band is pushing in to the Seattle metro area. You can see it's reaching near Olympia there. This is the European model showing that on the left here, GFS showing that on the right. Also, one thing to note, huge snow for the Sierra Nevada, lots of rain for California, potential for some thunderstorms as well. So if you're down in California, be sure to let your friends or family know down there that there could be some pretty impactful weather across that area, especially across the Sierra Nevada, just some massive snow. But getting back here to Washington, you can see a good model agreement here that this band of snow starts to push northward. The GFS is a bit more progressive with it, but the thing that we have to note is that even though here, if you were to look at this forecast, you'd say, oh, that shows snow across most of the Seattle metro area. Remember those dew points we were talking about in the beginning of the video? It's going to be extremely dry, which means that in order for snow to even get to the ground, it has to saturate the atmosphere, bring that dew point back up, and then be able to make it all the way down to the ground as snow. And that can sometimes take a really long time or not happen at all. If you get light easterly winds near the surface, it can scour out that snow for a lot of areas. You can see as we go through Friday, that band of snow lifts northward, and then as the system pulls out of the area, that band of snow pushes back across the Seattle metro all the way into, this would be Friday morning, before that finally kicks out of the area by Friday evening there. So for the areas that are able to get cool enough to get some of that snow and get the atmosphere saturated enough from that dry air, you could maybe get an inch to 2 inches of snow, and we'll take a look at that in a moment here. And then you can see good model agreement on our next system moving into the area Saturday into Sunday, bringing lots of rain and some heavy mountain snow, upwards of a foot likely for most of the Cascades through this weekend. So we'll take a look at that in upcoming videos as well. This is taking a look at the European model on the left, GFS model on the right, taking a look here at total snow through Friday evening, and you can see the European model shows 1 to 2 inches for most of the Seattle metro area, 2 to 4 inches from Seattle southward to Portland, and then 2 to 4 inches on the Kitsap Peninsula there. Areas from Mount Vernon northward get nothing because of this system not reaching far enough north. you can see here on the GFS model here on the right, it shows more snow. It shows 5 to 7 inches around Portland, 4 to 6 inches from Olympia to Portland, and then 2 to 3 inches across most of the Seattle metro area. However, this is likely too high. You can see this little snow hole it shows here, basically from Edgewood and Federal Way up through Seattle. That's from some of those east winds dropping the snow totals because it's too dry. This is likely completely overdone, so the European model is a better solution here, and it's very possible that some big areas could get nothing just because of how those east winds set up. So we can also take a look at the higher resolution forecast models to see this. The high resolution rapid refresh, which I usually use in these comparisons, is not yet in range. So we're comparing the NAM model and the higher resolution Canadian model there. You can see the NAM doesn't show really any snow north of Tacoma, only a dusting. From Tacoma southward through Portland, it shows 1 to 3 inches. But again, there's going to be a sharp cutoff somewhere with this storm because of those easterly winds that could still be going on. And even for Portland, there's not a ton of confidence in that snow total there. The Canadian model basically shows 1 to 2 inches from Olympia to Everett, and then from Olympia southward to Portland, it shows 2 to 4 inches. But you can see, again, there's that sharp cutoff with those easterly winds. So we just have to watch this very closely. I'll take a look at all of these models in depth in tomorrow's video, and we will take a look at where that snow accumulation is most likely to happen from Thursday evening into Friday morning. Taking a look here at another way to see this snow uncertainty. This is the European model ensemble. We're looking at 24-hour snow at SeaTac Airport here, and you can see the ensemble mean, this green line, is around 1.5 inches of snow for SeaTac. However, you can see some of these ensemble members have nothing or have like a dusting, like 0.4 inches of snow. And when they're showing those super low snow amounts, there's no guarantee that any of that's even going to make it all the way down to the surface because of how some of these areas are exposed to those drying easterly winds. Now we compare this to Olympia, you can see there's definitely a better chance there. Most ensemble members showing 1 to 3 inches of snow for Olympia, a few of them showing nothing, but you can see the average in Olympia is a bit higher, about 2.25 inches or so. On the European model average there. And then as we go further south down toward Portland, you can see almost every model does show snowfall, so there's much higher confidence for Portland, but still only about 2 inches, so not a super impactful snow event, but could definitely cause some problems. But you can see as you go further south that probability of snow goes up. Like obviously the snow probability is much higher here in Portland than in Seattle. So that is something to keep in mind as well, that the further north you go into Western Washington, the more you're influenced by that dry air and the harder it is going to be for that snow to fall. So stay tuned for tomorrow's video. We're going to take a look at this in depth with all the snow potential. And to see that, be sure to subscribe here to Western Washington Weather. You can click the subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and like and share these videos. You can also follow me for updates on Blue Sky, on Western Washington Weather Facebook group, and on Twitter. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow.